Senator Boucher, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam President, I can imagine some national headlines after today, following on the heels of some other unfortunate news headlines that read, "What's wrong with the state of Connecticut?" has been in some publications, or in the Barron's magazine, "How did rich Connecticut become the worst performing state?" They may be writing something to the effect of, "It's a sad day for Connecticut taxpayers," or "Historic vote to protect state unions for 10 years," or "Special interests rule the General Assembly." By voting for the package that's been negotiated by the governor's office, the General Assembly has taken, or will be taking, an action that will reverberate, I believe, in Connecticut for decades to come. The anticipation today that it's leading up to this vote has been building throughout the day. I could feel it in the hallways and so forth, as some of the leaders have sought to convince their own reluctant members to vote in favor of the contracts. Well, they may be successful. We'll see very shortly, for sure, to see if there is a lockstep vote for a contract that the General Assembly should really have control of and has been in control of for nearly 38 years. Now, some here have already sought to blame others 20 years ago for putting Connecticut on this path. However, continuing that practice doesn't make any sense, and it's certainly not helping the Connecticut going forward. We're supposed to be looking ahead. We've had nearly a decade already to address this and to say, no, this is not the kind of practice we're going to continue. But we also have to really realize that no governor has any control over the final decision. That final decision on spending, on taxes, on budgets, and these 33 agreements all fall to the State House and to the State Senate. And by the way, the fallout from all of this, which we're seeing, which is lost jobs, lost homes, lost population, all seem to rest and weigh on us today in this Senate and those that really control the votes. These 33 various union agreements contain some cost savings, yes, probably for the first 2 years, and I might add, for many of us in the private sector, we haven't seen a wage increase in maybe 10 years since the recession, quite frankly. And bonuses have shrunk as well, even for those that are producing a profit. But in looking more deeply at these contracts, what we're seeing increasingly is that there are many more costs associated with it. And by the way, this is 40% of the FISC costs that we have in the budgets that the General Assembly has to move forward on. Unfortunately, these contracts, these 33 agreements, are a long ways and much more generous than what our municipal, not even comparing, everyone here is saying we're comparing it to the private sector. I'm comparing it to our local municipalities, to our fire, our police, our teachers. Those bargaining units receive much less, and this contract, the one thing, never mind what's in it, lock up the state for 10 years. That's something that is shocking to everyone I speak to. It's unheard of in municipal and teacher contracts, whose workers contribute nearly 7% to their pensions. Many have to spend down $4,000 of their own personal income before they even touch their health care. And so many are moving to something the state seems to be very reluctant to do, and that is 401k defined contribution plans for their pensions. When it comes to state benefits, even the federal office holders that we all know, U.S. senators and congressmen, choose to keep Connecticut health care benefits instead of taking their federal current benefits because it is that much more generous, and I might add, so much more expensive, and why we're now facing increasing local property taxes, increasing costs to our local municipalities, while still protecting what many believe are some of the most generous benefits in the country. Again, this vote is to keep an unaffordable cost in place and protected for 10 years at the expense of our overburdened, overtaxed Connecticut residence towns and our schools that will now be forced and faced with possibly higher property taxes and higher individual taxes as well. We are facing a $5.1 billion deficit after one deficit after another. Since I came to the Senate in 2008, I don't think I've seen a year when we've been able to close a budget. And this is after, as you've heard time and again, until you're tired of hearing that, 2 historic tax increases. Let's face it, our Senate and our General Assembly has been dominated one party until this January, where we are now an 18-18 tie, with the Lieutenant Governor having a historic influence over the process, casting that tie-breaking vote. Who knows, that might even happen today. These union packages, the 33 agreements negotiated, as I said before, while producing some savings, doesn't even get close to closing the budget numbers that we're going to need for the next 2 years, that we should have passed, by the way, on June 7th, so that our towns and schools could move forward. And though there are wage freezes, the concessions that are suggested are erased in the following 8 years of this very unheard of. Can you imagine a local contract for 10 years? They also include a 4-year no layoff provision, and also language that does not allow for state jobs being provided by the private or nonprofit sector. These agreements, there is no question, and we've said this before, will tie the hands of this state into the future and make it nearly impossible a future recession should occur. And by the way, it does with regularity. We cannot deny it. There's one in our future. We don't know when. Typically, it's every 10 years. Interestingly enough, coincides with this agreement as well. We will not be able to address this without tax increases and reductions in services to those that most need it on our state. This is a sad day if, in fact, this agreement moves forward, and the decision lies right here in our hands. I can't remember a more important vote since I have been here. It's an important vote for the residents of Connecticut, and it is a sad day if one special interest group benefits at the expense of every other interest of the state. And the people here, you've heard it, they've had enough, and many of them that have given up have moved out. But we must stop this. We have to stop this and convince the people of our state that we are changing our ways. I hope the vote today will send that message. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator.